The South African Music Rights Organization, Samro, had called a press conference to address, amongst other issues, the internal dispute within the organization. Messi Pakela and William Teto among some of the musicians who disrupted the press briefing to demand their unpaid royalties.
Samro is becoming a dictator now. They decide for us, and they've forgotten that they are working for us. If we are the owners of the entity, nothing should happen without us. We've been having lots of forensics that are affecting our royalties. Everything that they have, the conspiracy that is there is costing us as composers and authors.
I've been to Samro. I never get any royalties from Samro since 1989.
But
I never been paid. But my music has been played as a Talom Kids.
My name is Mr. William Teto. I've been a member of Samro for more than 50 years, and I have 564 songs registered with Samro. Let me tell you something, and I want to tell the world. Samro owed me 2 million rands, because what happened, I had a case with Samro, I think for 30 years. There were some famous radio DJs that worked for SABC who used their families on my royalties. And Samro was paying those people my royalties for the songs that I wrote. So I only received 450,000 from their retirement families where they were using their families' names and whatever. Now, Samro owes me 2 million rands because they were paying royalties from Samro to those people who took my royalties fraudulently. And some of those guys, they are still with the SABC. Famous radio presenters, they're still working for SABC as we speak. Now, I want Samro to pay my 2 million. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to take this case to the SIU and the President of South Africa, Mr. Ramaphosa, to know about this, and the Minister of Communication.
Samro is a globally respected institute established in the 1960s to collect the royalties of Southern African composers and publishers of music. Its sole purpose is to record where its members' music is played, broadcasted, and then collect the revenues from those broadcasters and pay them out in royalties to its members.
At the base of it, this is how the industry works. This is how collecting management works. Music has to be played. Somebody has to play the music. We can only collect from a music user once that music is played. So I can write 1,000 songs, I can write one song. It depends on whether that song gets airplay. And we only collect on the basis of what has actually been used, right? And so the unfortunate thing I think about the industry generally is that your music will be in high rotation today. 10 years later, it's no longer in high rotation. But that is not Samro's responsibility. Samro does not market music. Samro does not sell music. Samro does not... We advocate for local musicians for their works to be aired and played, but it is not a responsibility that sits with us. That is the owners of the work that need to sell and market their work. So what we collect is based on, for that period, what has actually been consumed. So either it's a live show, it's a retail store, it's broadcaster, it's whoever else. So on the basis of that, when they report what they've used, we then pay. But if there's no reporting or there's no usage of works, the organization cannot pay. And I think sometimes maybe that's part of the education that we need to continuously be doing to members who wanting to be members of the organization as in prospect members, but also generally across the spectrum of members, that it is about airplay and rotation. And so if anything, we should be advocating for South Africans to consume more local music. Each and every, maybe let's start with the digital service platforms. So each and every DSP, digital service platform, either Netflix or a VOD, video on demand service, has got different calculations based on the rate that they are willing to pay for that particular piece of work. So they're very different. A broadcaster will have a different rate. And from a licensing perspective, when we go out to music users, we've got different baskets of tariffs. So a tariff for a live venue, you go listen to music at underground basement, for example, will have a different tariff compared to a retail store, will have a different tariff, a broadcaster will have a different tariff. So the tariffs are not standard, but the basis of how we calculate the tariffs is based on revenue. So if you are a live venue, you sell tickets for 200 Rand, and after whatever calculation your revenue is X, we base it only purely on ticket sales. We don't base it on any other thing, and that's a standard international way of determining the value that can be assigned for the license, and what we would then claim back. So to come to the question around 11 Rand or what has been out there, is that would be in your statement. So it's not actually Samro paid 11 Rand, because we realize that the administrative costs to actually releasing money, either bank charges or whatever the case might be. So we don't release anything less than, I think it's 1,000 Rand, if not 100 Rand, just to make sure that we're not dealing with this, but we only receive from users based on usage, and then we pay out. If your work hasn't been in high rotation, if let's say your song played once in 6 months, right, there's going to be a unit rate attached to that. So we will only pay the unit rate, but in your statement. So we will not also release the money, because we're very mindful of the expense of releasing money when it's not, in your opinion, as a member, something that is worth value.
Over the past decades, Samro has been dealing with artists demanding millions of rands in members' royalties that have not been paid to them in years.
If the work is rightfully yours, you claim once. So the intention of claiming for the work is that it has to come out of what is undocumented. So now we know, right? So when we move it out of the undocumented works portal, we say that we've got the detail that it will continue to earn post that. Right? So not that you don't no longer earn once it's moved out of the undoc portal, but it will earn from different distributions. We've got a live distribution, a mobile and internet distribution, a radio distribution, TV distribution. So if you find that your work is in undoc, right, you have a responsibility as the composer, author member, or publisher member to inform the organization, to say, this is my work, this is the proof that it's my work, this is the split sheet, the agreement, the CSV, and I'm trying to remember what that acronym means. I can't for the life of me remember now. But there's a list of about 10 things that we say as an organization we will accept to verify the validity of your claim. Once we satisfied that it is indeed your work, then we move it out of undoc, and then you will continue to claim post that. So it doesn't stop with undoc, but we have found in the past that in some instances works have gone back into undoc, and so we're always wanting to clear it out. We have applied a prescription rule to the undoc, in that after 3 years, whatever money came in, let's say in 2020, come 2023, it hasn't moved. Come 2024, the fourth year after that, we then moved the money back and we paid out to the rights holders who participated in that distribution, right? So if we had 100 Rand that was sitting, we don't know who it belongs to. After 3 years, in year 4, we said, okay, fine. There were 10 people who participated in the radio distribution. We're going to go back and apportion it across those people who had participated in that distribution. So it goes back to rights holders after every 3 years. We clear it after every 3 years. We give it back to rights holders. So as it moves, we clear, it goes back to rights holders. We clear the money, it goes back to rights holders. So the organization doesn't keep it. It's a liability for the organization because it's money that doesn't belong to us. It belongs to members. Those members are either in South Africa, across the rest of the world. We have an obligation to make sure that we limit the liability for undoc works. We recognize the responsibility to educate and to inform and to give members the tools to be able to function in this industry. And it's constantly changing. Everybody wants to earn from digital, and we see that is where we actually need to be pushing knowledge from our perspective, but also just understanding, I'm a composer, what do I do, what do I not do, what contract should I sign, what should I not sign, who should I speak to, where do I go? So across the country, we are supporting members as best we can, and the industry broadly, either through partnerships with whoever. We've got lots of partnerships.
Amid the chaos, Samro says it's fully functional and they are working to get to the bottom of the issues that members have raised. For Morning Live, I am Tapelo Moela.